B. Can I do like this? Return A plus B. Valid or invalid? Valid or invalid? Valid. What is the name of the method? Add. What is the parameter? Two parameters are there for the method. What is the data type of those parameters? Int. What is the logic available? Concatenating or adding the addition. A plus B. Those are integer types na. I am doing addition. Directly I am doing the return. Generally freshers will do like this. Integer C is equal to A plus B, then return C. Right. I am trying to perform sum of the two numbers. I am storing into a variable. That variable I am returning. So what I am returning from the method? I am returning a int value C. That means I am returning a C value. Alright. Instead of writing the logic in the two lines, you can write the logic in the single line also. Integer add into A comma into B. Into A comma into B. Directly you can do return A plus B. Directly you can do return A plus B. Are you guys clear with my point? What is the difference between this program, this method and this method? Is there any difference between this method and this method? No difference. Logic is same. Just we have optimized the code. I have reduced one line of code. Here I am taking two parameters for the method. I am performing sum of those two parameters and I am returning that sum as a C variable value. But here I am not storing that sum in the another variable. I am directly returning A plus B. A plus B. Okay. Now I'm going to take int. I'm going to take int division integer A comma integer B. Integer A comma integer B. Can I do like this? Return A by B. Is it valid? Yes. What I am doing here? What I am doing here? I am dividing one number with the another number. I am returning the result as a return value of the method. Now, can I do like this? I am taking int. I am taking int as a return type. I am taking method name as a M1. Parameter I am taking as a string name. String name. Now here what I will do? String S1 is equal to name dot to uppercase of return S1. Yes or no? Yes. Last method, is it valid or not? Last method M1, is it valid or invalid? अच्छे से देखना. Now see, what is the name of my method? What is the name of my method? M1. My method name is M1. What is the parameter of the method? String. My method is expecting string as a, that means my method is expecting string as a input. My method is expecting string as a input. What my method want to return? What is the return type of the method? Integer. But what I am returning? S1. S1 data type is what? String. Method want to return int. I am returning string. Invalid. Invalid. So whatever the method return type is available, same value you have to return. Can I do like this? S1 dot S1 dot length. What is the purpose of length method? What length method will give you? int value. So my return statement calling another method, s1 dot length. Length method will give you int value. My method will return int value. My method want to return int value. That is valid. That is valid. But if I write like this, it is invalid. It is invalid. Okay. Now, so this is invalid. Below method is invalid. Why it is invalid, guys? Method return type is int, but it is trying to return string value. Hence this method is invalid method. So whatever you take as a return type, that return type data type value you have to return. If I take return type as a int, I have to return int value. If I take return type as a string, I have to return string value. If I take return type as a boolean, I have to take boolean value. Are you guys getting my point? Now here I'm going to take boolean m2 into a comma into b, m2 into a comma into b. Is it valid? Is that method valid? Valid? Return type is mandatory. Yes, it is there. Return type is there, na? What is the return type of the method? Boolean. What is the parameters available? Integer. So valid or not? Invalid. Because whenever your method having a return type, that method should return that value. So can you read this point here? My method is having a boolean as a return type. But are we returning any value from this method? No. You have to return either true or false value. Method having the return type as a boolean. That means it is mandatory to return either true or whatever you want. You can return either true or false. So now here I will do if a greater than b. If a greater than b, then I will return true. I will return true, else I will return false. Now it is valid. If a is greater than b, then it will return true, else it will return false. Can I optimize this code? Simple. Boolean m2 into a comma into b, into a comma into b. Khatam. If you execute this logic, output will be same. So this kind of logic you will get based on the experience. Alright, code optimization. My requirement is, if a value is greater than b value, I have to return true. If a value is greater than b value, I have to return true. First what I have done, if a greater than b, then return true, else return false value. Now instead of writing that if else condition, directly I am taking a return statement. I am writing a greater than b. If this condition satisfy, return true. Condition not satisfy, return false. So the output of the two methods will be same or not. But what is the difference? Number of lines of code. So Based on your experience, you will optimize the code. You will write the better coding once you get the experience. All right. Now, I'm going to take one method as a string. I'm going to take one method as a string, and I'm taking this as a yum2, and I am writing return some hi. Void means, can you look at the method? Method is having two return types. String and void are there, na? It is invalid. Method should have only one return type. Either you need to write a string or you need to write a void. But what I have done? I have taken two return types. It is invalid. It is invalid. This is invalid because it is having two return types. Invalid because it is having two return types. How many return types should be available for a method? Only one. How many parameters can be available for a method? Any number of parameters can be available for a method. Now, when the method is having a return type, suppose for example, boolean yum3, boolean yum3. Now, is this method valid or invalid? Method is valid or invalid? Invalid. Why? Method is having boolean return type. But are we returning anything? No. So what this method should return? Either true or false. Okay, I will return true and false. Valid or invalid? Huh? Valid? Invalid. Because return true or return false. Okay, can I do like this? Return true or return false? This is also, logic is optional, man. If you want, you can write the logic, or if you don't want, you don't need to write it. Logic is optional. Okay. He should not write like this. You need to write either true or false. एक ही return करना पड़ेगा. You cannot return both true and false at a time. Either true or false value. Getting my point? Is this valid or invalid now? Valid, 100% valid. Writing the logic is optional. Writing the logic is optional. My method is having a return type. My method is having a name. Return type is mandatory. Method name is mandatory. Parameter is also optional. Parameter is optional. Logic, optional. If you want, you can write it. If you don't want, optional. What about the return statement? If the method is having a return type, it is mandatory. Suppose if it is a void, not mandatory. So returning the value is mandatory or optional? Returning the value is also optional. Okay. So methods are very important. Methods are very important. Okay. Now I'm going to take one method, void C1. I'm taking integer array. Here I am going to do system.out.println of ARR. That's it. Look at that. Look at that. सर पूरा कंफ्यूज हो रहे हैं. हाँ? कभी नहीं देखा. Valid or invalid? Invalid. Why? क्यों? No, this is 100% valid because I am passing one array as the input now. Whenever you call the method, you create the array and you pass the array as the input. My method is expecting array as the input. Whoever is going to call that method, they should pass that array as the input. My method will take array as input. My method will print that array. Just to check our main method. My main method is doing what? What my main method is doing? From 1 month you are writing public static void main string argument. I just taken, instead of string, I have taken integer array. दिमाग काम नहीं कर रहा भाई आपको? हाँ हाँ. Instead of taking string argument, I am taking integer argument. I am expecting int array. That int array, whatever I am getting, I am printing that array. It is valid. It is valid. So method return type is void. That means no need to return anything. Method name is C1. Method name can be anything. Method parameter is one array. That is a integer array. Whatever the integer array is available, I am printing that integer array. That's it. That's valid. Why it is invalid? Samjay? Now go to our program. Go to our program. Let me create one class. Let me show you whether it is valid or not. Guys, don't get confused. Don't get confused. We are understanding multiple types of methods. How can we write? Right. Let me take one class with a name called methods. Let me take a class with a name called methods. Inside this method, I'm going to take a main method. So main method is the entry point for JVM execution. Now, here I'm writing one method, void printf. Method name can be anything. I'm taking the method name as a print method. What that